Hi, and welcome back to our series where I am here answering your questions. My name is Megan Sumrell. I am a time management expert for women, and I am on a mission to bring work-life harmony to women all over the world. So in this series here, I have been taking your questions on all things time management, organization, and productivity and coming here and answering them. So here is today's question. This question came in saying, "Hey, Megan, how can I be more consistent?" And consistency is very similar to our previous question. If you missed the first video, I was answering the question on how can I stick to my plan. These two are very, very similar, but I want to take our angle on this one just slightly different here today. So I'm going to be breaking down for you 3 of the top reasons why we typically lack consistency when it comes to, because again, I'm always talking about how to think about how we're planning and managing our time. And then with each one of those, what is a subtle shift that you can do to help you stay more consistent with whatever the activity is. All right, now I'm going to be sharing one here from my personal life because I think when we have something tangible that we can talk about, that always helps put things into perspective here a little bit. So anytime you recognize that there is something that you are trying to bring into your life on a more consistent basis, and we're seeing that we're not being consistent, the very first thing that we need to do is understand why. Now, typically, and again, there can be more reasons than the 3 I'm going to share here, but I'm going to share the top 3 that I see from the women in my top program community. TOP stands for time management, organization, and productivity. So the first is one of the reasons why you may be struggling to stay consistent is that the time of day that you have chosen to do a specific activity is just not the best time of day for you to set yourself up for success. Now, the second reason why we can struggle with being consistent is that we lack specificity in exactly how and when we're going to do something. And then the third reason why we can often be really lacking consistency is that we may have just been unrealistic what we've decided to do, meaning we may have bit off more than we can chew. So let's talk through each one of these in a few more detail, and then what can we put in place to help shift this a little bit and set ourselves up for better success. So one of the examples of something I was working on trying to be more consistent in my life is creating a practice around meditation. I understand all the benefits of it. I believe in it, but it is not something I am naturally drawn to. Okay. But this was something that I wanted to bring into my life. So when I first set out to say, I am going to start meditating every single day, I found after day 1, maybe day 2, if I was lucky, I wasn't honoring my practice of doing that. So first and foremost, when I went in to dive at it, I said, first thing I asked myself is, okay, what time of day have I set aside to do this? Well, I realized right away that I was not picking the best time of day to set me up for success for being consistent. I was attempting to do this kind of right within the first 5 minutes of waking up in the morning. And I realized for myself in my morning routine and how my brain works and my kind of energizing personality type, I was not setting myself up for success. So by simply moving when I was going to do my meditation to a little bit later in the morning, now suddenly I've set myself up for better success. So we want to make sure that we're picking the right time of day for ourselves and our personality types for what we're trying to be consistent on. Now, the second part around lacking specificity. This is really, really important. A lot of us, when we're trying to do something new or get a consistent behavior or routine in place, what is our default? Our default is that we go add it to a task list, right? So on my list of all the things I'm going to do for the day, I put in there, okay, hey, Megan, we're going to meditate every single day. But just saying and putting it out there, I'm going to meditate today, is lacking the specificity of exactly when, where, and for how long. So think about this different statement. I'm going to meditate today versus I will meditate for 1 minute as soon as I have walked into my office for the first time of the day. right? Or you could even say at 9 a.m. My life doesn't allow for that kind of preciseness, but I can be very specific by saying when I walk into my office for the first time of the day, I will meditate for 1 minute. So now I'm saying exactly when, I'm saying exactly where, and I'm saying for exactly how long. So when we can get super specific, now instead of it just being this thing amidst, a list of 20 other things, now we can actually start to create like appointments with ourselves to know when, where, and how long. Now, the third reason that I mentioned that oftentimes we lack consistency is we may have just bitten off more than we can chew, right? So when I look back at me working on a meditation practice, originally I set it aside saying, I am going to meditate for 5 minutes every day because that sounded so simple. Well, I quickly learned that 5 minutes felt like an eternity. And so, even though I changed the time of day to be at the right time of day, and I put in that specificity, I will meditate for 5 minutes as soon as I sit down at my desk to start work for the day. I realized that the 5 minutes was too much. I had bitten off more than I could chew because after one day, I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. So it was an unrealistic amount of time. So instead, I changed it to 1 minute so that I can build up the consistent muscle of doing it for 1 minute every day. And then when 1 minute starts to feel easier, then maybe I can bump it up to 90 seconds or 2 minutes and slowly build my way up to the amount that I am going to do. Think about this, another very simple example here on this biting off more than you can chew. Maybe you have a desire to go run a marathon, right? 26 miles, but you've never run 1 mile in your life. Well, you're not going to sign up to do a marathon a week from now, right? There's no way you're going that gap is not going to work. But what you can do is say, hey, I'm going to go get outside and do a walk jog for 15 minutes every day. And I'm going to do that for a month. And then I'm going to see what I can shift there again to stay realistic. So if you are finding that you are struggling with consistency, before you just start changing things, make sure you understand what is it that is preventing you from being consistent. Is it that what you're trying to do is not matched to the right time of day? Like I know for me, if I am going to change up any kind of fitness consistency, I am a morning fitness person. If it doesn't happen first thing in the morning, I am not setting myself up for success. The chances of me actually doing it at the end of the day are slim to none. All right. So ask yourself, is this not happening because I'm trying to do something at the wrong time of day? It's not in alignment with the rest of my life. Or am I lacking specificity? Is it just this general thing out there sitting on a list instead of me really getting specific and understanding when, where, and for how long exactly am I doing this? And then make sure that your calendar supports that. Or, finally, is it unrealistic? Have you bit off way more than you can chew and you need to start a little bit smaller? Now, it may be that it's a combination of more than one of those items. Like with my meditation, it was all three of those. So it may take some tweaking and adjusting until you get all of those pieces in part working for yourself to help you keep consistent. Now, finally, I'll share another tip that can work well for some people. For others, it does not. So again, test it out for you. But having something to track your progress for some people can be really helpful, like a habit tracker. There's a lot of free apps out there. You can just use, your own paper planner and check off each time that you do it, and have it be one with a bunch of blank squares or circles or whatever, so that you can go check it off every single time you do it. So, a lot of little check mark gives us a nice little dopamine hit, right? So have that conversation with yourself and say, hey, would setting up something, a visual tracker, so that I'm, and it needs to be somewhere where you see it easily. I've got that reminder that this is something that I have said I want to be more consistent on. All right, now if you have any questions that you want me to answer here in the series, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email us at team@megansumrell.com. I've got that down here in the description below. And make sure you don't forget to click subscribe here to this YouTube channel. That way, anytime I come out with new content, you will get a notification. And of course, as always, it's completely free. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here for our next question.